Listen to this episode if you want to improve your conversions of your social media marketing right now. This is going to be an episode that you are going to want to take notes on. I wouldn't listen to this one while you're driving. I want you to be able to sit down with a pen and paper and really write down some notes. Maybe you're on a treadmill, maybe you're doing some dishes, maybe you are literally sitting and just listening to it. Maybe you're making your product, whatever that is. I want you to be attentive and at it and able to take notes on this. We aren't gatekeeping and we are holding nothing back. I'm going to really dive into the nitty gritty of what it takes to have a really high converting marketing strategy. So take notes here. We're getting deep, and this is not going to be talking about launches. This isn't going to be talking about how to have a solid launch strategy, how to plan a sales calendar. This is going to be about how to create content that gets you daily sales coming in through your website. I am not anti-launch by any means, but as a successful business owner, you need to be able to balance active versus passive sales. You need to know how to get sales during a launch, but you also need to know how to sell the product that you currently have. And the more that I talk about this topic, the more that I realize this is a major issue for people, that you don't know how to sell the inventory you have by creating content, which is why you consistently create new products and new collections and all of that. This is going to be talking about how to create passive sales, having sales come through every single day while you sleep, while you eat, while you build your business. You are starting to have sales climbing each and every day. First things first, if you're new here, I just want to take 10 seconds to welcome you. Hello, welcome to the Small Business Growth Podcast. I am your host, Madison Page. I am a business growth strategist, and I really love to teach in a fun, conversational type of way. I like to say it's kind of like sipping coffee with a biz bestie, where we share raw and real and genuine conversation in a hyper conversational type of way. So it really is you sitting across from me, sipping your coffee, and we're really chit-chatting. Today, we're getting deep into an actual framework. If you want to dive more into this topic, we are actually going to be doing profile audits today within our Small Business Cafe, which is our free podcast community. You can join it, click the link in the show notes completely for free. And today we're going to be diving in to people within the community and doing some podcast audits, answering their questions, and looking at which one of these steps looks to be their major sales breakdown right now. So if you would like that, feel free to click the link in the show notes, join the Small Business Cafe. Really what that is it's a free community to connect with other business owners, dive deeper into podcast topics, and get exclusive support from me. And today we're doing podcast audits in there, which is something we haven't done yet, and I'm really, really excited. So, step-by-step guide to creating a high converting content plan. Step number one is really understanding the foundations of your brand. What is your brand and how do you separate yourself from everybody else within the industry? What is the message that you're sharing? Who are you trying to create? What is the overall depth behind your brand? Now, a major mistake I see here is people saying, well, I sell this product. If you couldn't tell me what the features of your product were and you just had to explain the brand of itself, what do you stand for? What are your values? Who are you trying to attract? You had to use one line to tell me what your brand is all about, and you couldn't talk about your products. What would you say? What is the messaging around it? How can you really dive deep into the overall meaning behind your brand? Now, there's a three kind of pillar here to foundations. I have a free training on it on my website under freebies. It's called Standout Socials. It teaches you the foundational three kind of trifecta that you need: an ideal customer, differentiator, and a brand image. We need to make sure that we have this really solid, because your marketing is just not going to land without the proper foundations. If you just are selling jewelry, or you are just selling candles, you're just selling clothing, you just have a women's boutique, and you don't actually have a message around it, why are people choosing you over everybody else? Why would people want to come to your social and stick around instead of just going on Amazon and buying off of Amazon? And no, that can't just be because you're a small business. That is not going to fly in 2025. What we really need is you need a deeper message. You need a deeper meaning. You need some value behind your brand. What does your brand really stand for? We're talking depth. We're talking visuals. We're talking meaning. You need to have your own kind of ecosystem, or I guess it would be better off like its own personality behind your brand. If your brand was a living and breathing person, what type of clothes would they wear? What type of music would they listen to? What style would their house be? And what would they really stand for as a person? Sometimes humanizing your brand, actually thinking of it as like a living and breathing person can really help you create the foundations. What type of world would they want to live in? What style would their house be? What would their home decor look like? What type of parties would they throw? What music would be playing? What activities, what hobbies would they have? And that allows for you to see, oh, that's my brand and that's also my ideal customer. You need to have that really solid foundation, because without an understanding of your foundations, you actually shouldn't even be creating content yet, because you don't know who you're trying to attract. You don't know what message you're even trying to share. And your content is probably feeling a little lackluster. And honestly, I would say 90% of people that come to me don't have a solid foundation of their brand, because they're just like, oh, I create this product and it was a hobby that I create bags, I create jackets, I create whatever. And I'm sure your products are awesome, but you need a deeper brand. You need to have an emotion behind it, a style behind it, and really like the emotion that people, the feeling that people are going to feel when they come in contact with your brand. Again, it's like its own world. It's like its own ecosystem that they get to experience. You can really look at this when you look at what's something you're really into. If it's skincare, or if it's makeup, or if it's anything out there, you can kind of look at the different almost demographics of brands. I think skincare is a really easy one. There's a lot that are very like black and white, very plain, kind of looking at like the Rhode style brand. It's just very minimalist. It's very kind of plain. It just kind of blends in. And then there's brands that are like Bioma, who have really bright colors. They're very bold. Their marketing is very strong. They market kind of to like the Gen Z gals. Their voice is very strong like that. You can see the differences behind those different brands. Some are very clinical strength. Some are very much so like playful and just connect with me as a brand, like Tarte. Tarte doesn't have anything in their brand, which is I guess it's more of a makeup brand, but theirs is very like accessible. They want it to feel like they are just one of the gals within a group chat within their branding. You can kind of see the foundations of their brand goes deeper than anything with their content. It's how they come across, the voice that they use, the colors that they use, as well as what is the overall message that they are conveying behind their product. The clinical strength. Is it for your everyday day-to-day use? Is it affordable? Is it something that is accessible for everybody? Is it one of everything that you need? Whatever that might be, they all have different messaging and a different kind of position within the marketplace. You also need to identify what yours is and be able to pinpoint it. So within all of the brands out there that are making what you make, where are you putting your stake in the ground saying, this is what my brand stands for within my industry? Step number 2 is I want you to create a profile that is crafted for new followers. Something a lot of people do is they assume when people come to your profile that your bio, your pinned posts, your highlights are people that are just like poking around that already know about your product. Now, over 75% of people look at your social media prior to ever buying from you. And so what we need to do, a lot of times this is more important than your website. Your social media is made for cold leads. Your social media is made for new people to find you. So we need your social media setup, your bio, your highlights, your pinned posts, your link in your bio to be all for a brand new person. Because what is the first thing that somebody does when they see a reel that they really love? They're like, oh man, I want to learn more about this brand. They click on your profile and they give your profile a scroll. And if your bio is full of things like dog mom, like nature obsessed, or just like fluffy context of where you're based and all of those different things, not really saying anything about your real brand, you're going to lose them. Your bio and your highlights and your pin posts have to be optimized for a completely brand new customer. It has to be optimized for somebody that has never come in contact with your brand. What are their questions? How can they know exactly what you sell? How do they know? How can they immediately have the feeling of like, wow, this brand is for me. How have I never heard of this brand before? This is exactly a brand that I would love to see. I want you to think about the last brand that you saw, and maybe you don't know the name, but you know the feeling of coming in contact with a brand on social media that you're like, oh, this is my vibe. I can totally vibe with this gal. Arlo didn't like my little noise that I just made here. He sat up if you're watching the video. I love this brand. Like, wow, this is totally my vibe. They're talking right to me. Immediately follow. You're not going to let that brand go away because you just found this brand. You just came in contact with this brand that clearly has their profile set up for you personally only. Like they were literally curated exactly for you. They have the vibes down. They have the messaging down. They are literally speaking to problems that you actually have and you want to learn more. What they just did is their Instagram profile just sold you on actually following people. You have to sell people into following you. So look at your profile from an objective point of view. If you knew nothing about your brand, what is your initial first impression? Is your profile set up to answer questions? Is it even very clear exactly what you sell, what makes your product different, and who you're trying to sell it to? If your bio does not cover those three pillars, what do you sell, what makes it different, and who are you selling to? Your bio is not set up for a brand new customer. Your highlights have to answer questions, provide some context. Your pinned posts are one of the least utilized features on Instagram that can make a major difference to the amount of conversions into followers that you have. One of the first things I do with my clients, literally week one, is in their custom growth plans, I look at the layout of their profile and I look at their pin post. We map out what their pin post should be because that is something front and center. You can provide so much information. They can have a really good overall view of what their business is all about. So when people find you, they have everything they need to know. They've got the vibes, they've got the branding, they've got that voice that we talked about in the foundations, they've got the message that we talked about in the foundations, they know what your product is, and they have a really solid understanding of what your business is all about. In such a short amount of time, they just consumed so much information and they know your business really, really well when your profile is set up for new customers. A major mistake people make is not using pin posts and not setting their profile up for new people, thinking that people already understand what their business is. Having very clever, ambiguous words in your bio. Your bio should be clear. It can be curated, but it doesn't need to be the most clever thing. I want you to use the clearest messaging possible so people really understand what makes your product so different, what they're going to get out of it, and why they need to stick around. So identify the foundations and set up your profile to attract those people with that message and with that branding in mind. New followers need to that is who you are curating your profile for, brand new followers. Next is we need to identify the space of your marketing that is going to be used for growth, for nurturing, and for selling. Growth, nurture, sell. There are 3 different areas in your marketing that we need to identify. Grow, nurture, sell. Basically, how are we going to attract? How are we going to connect? And where are we going to sell? And a major mistake, again, is that people think that every single piece of marketing on their feed, on their stories, on their emails should all just push to sales. This is why you feel very salesy, is because you literally are selling everywhere you are, which is fine, but your social media is a space to cultivate community. Yes, it does make sales. A lot of my clients make the majority of their sales off of their social media, but the major goal of social media cannot be only pushing sales. Your content strategy is not just look at my product, go and buy it. Look at this product, go to my website. Look at this product, we are releasing a new pattern, go and buy it. That can't be the case. Your social needs to have a little bit of a sales ecosystem to it where some content is meant to grow, some content is meant to nurture, and some content is meant to sell. Now, I teach 7 types of content because 3 of them grow, 4 of them nurture, and 3 of them sell. And of course, if you do some math there, you're like, Maddie, that's way more than 7, is because there's a little bit of an overlap. It's like a triple Venn diagram. And so there's different types of content you need to post in: the content to grow, the content to nurture, and the content to sell. So before you even start creating content, if you want a content strategy that converts, you need to identify where are you posting your content to grow. This means this style of content needs organic reach. It needs a possibility to get out to brand new customers, and it needs a way for those people to actually understand your business. Now, top of funnel, meaning your content to grow, cannot be an email list because those people have already met you. It's going to be really hard to get your top of funnel new people in on your email list unless you do ads. And even at that point, your top of funnel is still the ad. For the majority of you, this is going to be some type of organic content. Most of you, most of my clients, this is your feed content. Some people it's TikTok, some people it's a podcast, whatever that is. For the majority of you, content that is going out to an organic audience, meaning a completely brand new audience, it has a possibility of getting out to non-followers. That is your top of funnel, meaning it's your content to grow. So we first have to identify, where are you growing, where are you nurturing, where are you selling? The easiest one to do, grow on your feed, nurture on your stories, and sell on your email list. Now there's a lot of nuances here. Of course, when you are launching something, you have a sale, you are going to be selling everywhere. However, what you're doing here is you have to differentiate when you are passively selling. Remember, we're not talking about active sales today. We're talking about passive sales. So your feed is all about feed content. That brings us to number 4. Start posting feed content that is centered around value that would make people want to stick around. I want you to think about right now, what content do you love to consume? What information can you share with somebody about your industry, about your product that would make people want to stick around? How can we actually get people to want to stick around within the ecosystem of your brand? I'll tell you right now, the answer to that is not pushing product, saying, look at this product, go and buy it. I created this new product today, go and buy it, or come behind the scenes with me to look at my products, go and buy it. This cannot be centered around you. This is not a you thing. This is a them thing. Your feed content needs to be giving back to the ideal customer to try to get them to stick around. Your feed content is all about providing value, providing inspiration, providing education for other people, so that content is something people actually want to watch all the way through. Your feed content, the most important thing that we're looking for is watch time and follows. We need people to actually fully understand what it is that you are selling, what it is that the message you're trying to provide. That all comes from them actually watching through the whole video. We need to create content that is quality enough that makes them want to stick around on your profile. People are not following you because they want to see more ads of you just pushing product and trying to direct them into sales. Your feed is not for selling. Your feed is for growing. And so identifying that we need, in order to actually move people through a sales funnel, which is grow, nurture, sell. There's a bunch of different sales funnels that we talk about, but grow, nurture, sell is the easiest way to do it. For them to move down that funnel, they have to actually follow you. And so your feed, your major goal should be, how can we get reach? How can we get watch time? How can we get people to actually follow us? This comes down to sharing who your brand is, what your product will add to their life. How can you educate them based on brand information, product information, industry information? How can you answer their questions? And how can you point out a topic that they are already thinking? Again, this goes back to your foundations. If you don't know who your ideal customer is, you can't create content that is going to make them want to watch all the way through, that is going to make them want to stick around. Why? Because you don't know them well enough to be able to actually create that amount of content. So step 1, understand the foundations of your brand really, really strong. Step 2, create a standout profile for new customers. Step 3, identify the space for growing, nurturing, and selling, and which medium of marketing you are doing which one. Some people it's a Facebook group, some people it's a podcast, some people it's Facebook pages, some people it's TikTok, some people it's emails. Everybody has a little different. Again, feed, stories, email, I think is the easiest one to do. Step number 4, start posting feed content that focuses on providing value to people. People want to follow people that are providing them something that they are going to want to come back and learn more from you, be inspired by you, and support the message that you really are overall creating. Step number 5, have a call to action to send some people from your feed to your nurture point. For most people, if we're doing feed, stories, email, that's just going to be follow along for more. Hey, follow our journey. If this sounds like something you want, follow along. Because what we need to do, if we're really talking about this seamless sales system, is we have grow, nurture, sell, and your major call to action on your grow stuff is going to be to get them to nurture, which means let's just follow us so you can consistently see our content more often. So step number 5 is have a call to action on your feed content to get people to your nurture point. if that is a Facebook group, if that is a podcast, whatever that might be, that is your overall call to action. Your overall goal in this step is to get people to consistently get more information from you. To consistently, it's called time under tension in marketing, meaning they need to spend more time with you as a brand, to be nurtured, to get more information, and to connect deeper with you, to learn more about what it is you're selling, what it is you stand for, and to get more of that value that we've already talked about. You need to get people deeper into your world in step 5. So whatever that step is, whatever your nurture point is, your major call to action on step number 4 on that feed content or wherever your top of funnel is going to be needs to be something to get people to step B, to that nurture point. And then when we get them there, the overall goal is to collaborate with them, get them involved, get them immediately interacting. So if this is your stories, if this is your nurture point, which we're saying is your Instagram stories, we need to get them engaged within 48 to 72 hours. How do we get people engaged? Respond to DMs, have polls out there, ask them questions, consistently show up and humanize yourself and make them be like, dang, yeah, I saw this profile. This profile was made for me. I smashed that follow button because I was really excited about how the profile was set up, the feed content that I found. And now there's like this awesome founder behind this brand that she's showing up and she's showing me what's going on throughout the day and she's teaching me things, and I've engaged with her polls and we're engaging with each other, and I'm like literally so involved in this small business now. That is what we are going for. In step 5, your goal is to get them nurtured into your community, meaning they're getting involved. If you really were to think about community right now, a community, what do you think about? You think about like a neighborhood, you think about maybe like a town hall meeting. This is your community that you have. It's like people coming around you and engaging in different ways. What is the core of a community? It is collaboration, it is communication, it is connection, it is shared values, and it's creating some sort of relationship. And so in step 5, your major goal, step 4, when we were growing, our major goal was followers, was awareness, was interest, was just getting people aware that you are alive, that you're out there, that your brand exists. Step number 5's major goal is connection. It is getting people to really understand who you are, getting people deeper into your world and how that can really exist. And so collaboration is key. Get them involved in something, meaning you need to ask questions and mean it and actually engage with people. You can see here how having an actual high converting social media strategy isn't that you're just posting and hoping people react. You're seeing how involved this really is. You're starting to see, oh, like I might be doing social media a little bit lazy. It's something that I hear a lot from my clients of like, honestly, I was just doing social media in such a lazy way before. I was just pushing content out there, hoping it went viral. I'm trying to be authentic on my Instagram stories by like showing up and like talking about my problems and talking about what I was doing that day. But that isn't enough to actually move people through this system. Again, you can see every single piece of content has some sort of intention behind it. You're either trying to grow, get views, get watch time, or you're trying to connect, get engagement, get reactions, get DMs. And so what we're doing in step 5 is all about collaboration, involvement, communication, connection. Step number 6 is how are we moving people from a nurture point to a selling point? Meaning, if we're doing feed, stories, email, how are we sending people from your stories consistently over to your email? Or how are we sending people from your stories over to a Facebook group? Or how are we sending people from your stories over to whatever your bottom of funnel, your sales marketing channel is? Maybe it's an SMS list, maybe it's an email list, a Facebook group, whatever that kind of looks like. And so you have to consistently be sending people from your nurture to your sell. Again, seamless sales system, grow, nurture, sell. The major point that you're missing here is sending people from grow to nurture and nurture to sell. We need that call to action. And so here, when we're sending people from nurturing, send them somewhere to actually buy from you consistently. This should be working every single day. This is the major point of conversions that we're really looking at. This is the overall success of your marketing. If your marketing is not sending people from nurture point, like consuming your content, to sales every single day, we have a breakdown somewhere above. Either we don't have enough new people coming in, or your nurture content isn't actually activating your audience to truly feel connected. So what we should be tracking here is how many new email signups do you have every day? How many new people do you have within your Facebook group? How many new website clicks do you have? How many new sessions do you have on your site every day? How many people are actually diving deeper into wanting to figure out to buy from you? And at the end of the day, if you aren't seeing enough of those to actually convert, we need to look at why that is. Is it a nurture breakdown, or is it a grow breakdown, that we don't have enough new people coming in and actually converting deeper into this? So this might be having a curated email funnel, getting people onto an intro sequence where they're getting some emails over and over. This might just be sending people to a website, whatever that looks like. This should be working every single day. Step number 6, again, to recap, we have understanding the foundations, creating a profile for new customers, identifying what marketing you're doing to grow, nurture, and to sell. Start creating value-based content to attract new people. Send people from that new content onto your profile to follow you, and start nurturing them on your Instagram stories or wherever your major nurture point is. Send people from your nurture point to your selling point, and we have to make sure that all of those things are working. And now, from step number 7, I want you to set non-negotiables every single week in all of these areas, and stay consistent for at least 6 weeks. So this is a big action item that I have for you. I want you to look at this. How many feed posts are you going to make? Focusing on growth. How many days are you going to show up on your stories? Focusing on nurturing. How many days a week are you going to send people from your stories onto your email list every single day? How many different asks are you going to have every single week? And then I want you to stick to it for 6 weeks. And this is really where a really consistent content strategy comes from. Having a content strategy that heavily converts is that you stick to it. And now, once you do that for 6 weeks, we are able to look at enough data, which brings us to step number 8, which is see where people are falling off and it's not converting properly. Is the content you're putting out not actually growing? You have a feed content breakdown. Is your story content not actually is your feed content not actually leading people to your stories? Are your story views not growing as your profile views are growing? That means your stories are not overly interesting. They're not engaging enough on your stories. You're not asking enough questions. You're not getting enough engagement there. Are you not getting enough people to join your email list or look at your website? That means, again, there's a breakdown somewhere else that we have to identify. And so now that you have enough analytics, we're able to go deeper and look at this. This is what a strategy is understanding the result that you're looking to get from every single piece of content you put out there. What content are you putting out there? What messaging have you created? And what context, what format, what method of feed content is actually leading to growth? How do I create content on my feed that is actually going to get new people in? What content does that look like for me? What messaging do I have to share there? On your stories, what is the overall topics that we're covering here that really gets a lot of people in? What is the topic that I get the most amount of people to engage on polls with? And what am I talking about the most to actually send people over to my selling sequence, my email, my Facebook group, or any of that? It is knowing exactly what to post and converting people from the growth phase to the nurture phase, and nurture phase to the selling point, and then having people actually take action and go to checkout. Now you have a step-by-step guide at your fingertips of how to create a high converting content plan. Now there's a couple of things here that there are necessary pieces in order to do this. First things first, understanding how to create brand. Brand, again, is like that overall emotion that people come in contact with when they come in contact with your brand. How do you create that kind of humanized factor behind your overall business? Next one, understanding the message you're trying to create and how to actually relay that message to somebody that has never seen it before. I would say 75% of marketing is messaging, meaning 75% of how your marketing works is the actual overall how you're communicating it, the words that you're using, the hook that's on the screen, the caption that you have, the words that are on your website, and the visuals and what they are representing and what message they are communicating as well. Messaging is everything. It allows people to see the difference between those clinical studied makeup brands versus like the makeup brand for your everyday day-to-day person. It's how you attract that proper person. It's how you communicate the overall message. And truly, it's like 75% of whether or not this marketing is going to work is if your messaging is actually calling out to the right people. So that is a major point within this step-by-step content strategy. Really is how can we get that? What is the message that you're trying to convey? What is that differentiator? What positioning are you taking within your industry? And how are you actually communicating that message to new people that have never heard it before? And then how does that messaging actually make people really feel this like guttural desire to own your product? You know that feeling when you come in contact with a brand and you're like, I need it. Like immediately, hands down, no matter what, honey, go grab my wallet. I absolutely need this brand. I'm obsessed with it. I love the vibes. I love how they speak. I love how they're speaking directly to me. The problems that I have, they've made me feel like I need it immediately. We all have had that experience with a brand before. And that is what we're trying to create with you. That is what I call the obsess factor. That is what I call really building that obsess factor type of framework that you have. Next one is knowing how to grow, nurture, and sell and what engagement you're looking for here. We kind of talked about this today. When you're growing, you're looking for that overall watch time. You're looking for comments. You're looking at the engagement that's happening and trying to figure out why did people actually really watch all the way through this video? Why did this video start creating more momentum for me? And how can I duplicate that again? Because if you can't measure it, you cannot manage it or duplicate it. If you can't look at a piece of content and be like, well, that one got 10,000 views, but I have no idea why, then you aren't actually able to ever take that piece of content, learn from it, and start creating a solid strategy around it. Last but not least, you need to understand the difference between active and passive sales. So many people are in this perpetual stage of launching and just pushing new products, new patterns, new collections, when you have to really learn what we just talked about here is how to actually sell the inventory that you have. It's getting new people in to understand what your products are all about, what problem they solve and why they're so great. It's getting people nurtured into your community and it's getting people sold. Now, I want to say right now that this grow, nurture, sell can happen within 30 seconds if people come in contact with your brand and your profile is set up right, you have an email list set up right, and you have that seamless sales system set up. I know right now you're like, Maddie, this feels like nobody's going to find me or check out for like 3 to 6 months. That's not the case. If you have all of these systems, all of those call to actions to send people through this funnel set up and out there and consistent. People should be able to find your email list day one of finding you. People should be able to stalk your stories and understand what's going on, at least like mediocrely well. People should be able to come in contact with your brand and want to really naturally keep on diving in. We need that obsess factor. We need that binge worthiness of your overall profile. I really wanted to create this like pretty in-depth step-by-step strategy of what a real kind of content plan looks like, is because I have a lot of people ask me, Maddie, what is a step-by-step strategy? Like, what does this really, really mean? I have no idea what a strategy really is. And of course, there's so much I can talk about with this. This is really like figuring out what to post where. We also can talk about now how to plan this. I think the biggest element of having an actual content strategy is having a content calendar that you're following. Because if you wake up every day and you're like, all right, I have to grow, I have to nurture, and I have to sell somewhere, you're going to stress yourself the heck out. What we have to do is we have to sit down weekly at our Sunday evening power hour, plan out what your topics are for that week, plan out what you're doing for for that week and what you're talking about. So when you wake up in the morning, you know what you're growing, where you're nurturing, and where you're selling, and where it's going, whether it's scheduled out or you at least have that topic scheduled. When you start to know that you have a solid content strategy, is you are able to create a content calendar full of topic ideas that are going to help you grow, that are going to help you nurture, and you're going to help you sell, and you can rinse and repeat that. Where I want you to get in your marketing is where marketing is like the easiest part of your business. And that really can be the case for you. I know that you're like rolling your eyes. You're like, Maddie, I literally hate social media. I wish I never had to look at it again other than to scroll some cute little videos. I hear you. I know it's not something that you wanted when you started your business, but it's something that you need to have. It is such an incredible tool. And when you sit down and you're able to be like, all right, let's do this. We're passively selling our signature line this week. That's awesome. What topics are we talking about? What questions are we answering? What are we talking about on the stories and on the feed? Because you already know what content has landed in the past that we can kind of rinse and repeat. Repetition is good in marketing. Repetition is needed in marketing. It takes people 24 times to actually really understand something after seeing it. So someone has to see your exact message 24 times before actually fully understanding and fully grasping on average what that message even really says. So you can repeat yourself. It's not that I want you to copy paste captions and make the exact same video over and over again, but we can make a type of it. And you can see how brands do this all over the place. This is what a rinse and repeat marketing strategy looks like. You know what helps you grow. You know what helps you nurture. You know what helps you sell. I want to know if this was really helpful for you. I want to know if this was something that had any aha moments for you. Please reach out to me on Instagram at This Is Madison Page. I would love to hear from you on what your big aha moments were, what your questions are, and if nothing else, just saying hello, that you loved the episode, so I know that you want more of these like tangible step-by-step frameworks. I also love to give your profile a little bit of a stalk. Today, like I said, we're going to be doing profile audits inside of our Small Business Cafe community. So if you want me to audit your profile, join our Small Business Cafe. If you haven't already, click the link in the show notes. It's a completely free small business community where I just provide extra support. We dive deeper into podcast topics, and you are provided a space where you can ask other small business owners questions, gain feedback, and share ideas with each other, because that is so necessary in business as well. I truly hope this was so helpful for you in really answering some of your questions. In a lot of my Q&As, my lives on Instagram, whenever I ask what people's questions are, it's like, what even is a content strategy? What type of content helps me grow? What type of content helps me nurture? And what does all of that look like? So I really wanted to create this space where you can answer a lot of those questions and really provide a full framework here. I'm sure you have pages and pages of notes. I love that for you. Get out there and really start mapping out what changes you need to make on this. Don't let this episode be an episode that you listen to and you're like, helpful, insightful, love it, next episode, and never implement anything ever again. I want you to pick one thing, two things, three things that really stood out to you today and choose that you're making that difference. And whether that's changing your pin post, changing your bio, starting to just focus on different content on your feed, whatever that looks like. We talked about a lot of things in here today. There was a lot of nuggets shared. I want you to dive deeper into what that looks like and what actionable steps you are taking today and this week. Again, I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast. I know 35% of you are still not subscribed, even though you listen every single week. If that is you, hit that subscribe button. My goodness, you come back anyway. It'll just save you the time and make sure you never miss another episode like this. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will chat with you inside of the Small Business Cafe.